name is Cassie Jones. I am an artist in Philadelphia. I'm currently working out of a residency studio space at Cherry Street Pier. I got this residency space here a little over a year ago as part of a program that I was running called the Supply Library Program, which I organized through a community group called the Coven. And it's essentially like, if you're familiar with free book libraries around the city, it's like that idea of free book libraries, but instead free art supplies. So we organize donation events where people will come and drop off donations. We'll collect them together, and then we'll also do events where people can come and just pick up those donations for free. We'll organize things that are large amounts, and we'll give those to daycare centers and rec centers, and then the rest of the stuff we just put on carts around the city so people can take them. Working in the community setting is really enjoyable for me personally. Mostly what it does for me is it provides a connection that my work really thrives in. Thinking about the types of materials that I like to use, that I'm drawn to, and where I started with those, definitely began with something in the fabric range. I think I've had this thought a lot over the years because I've been an artist now, for 15 plus, and if you include my elementary school years, add those in too. But so it's hard to say exactly where the creative drive really connected and started, but I say fabric for almost every answer in this because the first memories I really have on understanding making something started around Halloween costumes. My mom would make them for us for years, and I would just kind of sit and watch her on her machine and like pull out these really thin little pieces of tracing paper and lay them out on things like, what is she doing over there? But I wasn't allowed to touch for the longest time. Eventually, not only was I allowed to touch, but it was required for me to make my own costume. And so then we would go and we'd pick out the pattern, like from the books at the store, and then we would get the paper pattern, we'd take it home, we'd iron it together, we'd cut it all out, then we would lay it on our fabrics. She taught me all of the things like cross grain, all of the simple things that you learn when you're first learning how to work with fabric and how to make patterns. And it was like, and this maybe doesn't relate to many people, but it was like a new math for me. Math sounds unexciting, but it's very exciting for someone who likes there to always be a solution, and a right and a wrong, a right side and a wrong side, and an up and a down, and your patterns can be, they either fit or they don't fit. And it really solved something that I was looking to solve. So then I just ran with it. I took my mom's sewing machine at some point, and I would just like take apart my clothes and try and sew them together, not having any understanding of like the difference between a zigzag stitch and a straight stitch. So that problem solving really hit for me. Following along with those patterns and teaching myself something that had a yes and a no was really helpful. I'm glad it didn't end there though, because there's so little flexibility in patterns. There's so little flexibility in fabric even. You can obviously design your own patterns and things like that, but still keeping in that little box of just fabrics and what fabrics that are even available, it was pretty restricting. So I did end up going to college for fiber arts, but even before that, it wasn't that I knew I wanted fiber arts, it was just anything that I made would gravitate towards fabric. So I would say, we're doing a painting today. I would start a painting, and then eventually I would start stitching into the painting. Not even really realizing like, yeah, this is totally still paint, right? And then I was like, I guess it's not, but I'm gonna do it anyway. And then it was when I got to college for fiber arts, and I realized that fiber arts is maybe a little bit more broad than even textile arts. And then it launched me into what I'm now really doing mostly, which is clay work. There was obviously a lot of things in between there, but this is essentially why I fully say multimedia artist, because all of the things that I do are still very interconnected in ways. They imply things to one another. They read off of one another. Right now I'm currently working on clay. I'm taking like fabric and I'm sort of inlaying it on the clay, and it impresses the fabric texture on it. I didn't even do that on purpose. It's just you use fabric as like your backing, your tablecloth, and every time I would push the clay into it and it grabbed that fabric texture, I would set that aside and be like, well, I'm definitely using that one. And then after I did that a few times, I was like, okay, I can do this on purpose. You don't have to be a multimedia artist. You don't have to be a fiber artist. You don't even have to be an artist. Just do something, and then people can label it if they want. And if you're doing something and you're doing it for a cause, you're doing it for a purpose, and it feels right to you, it'll all fall into place. And maybe it's kind of like sketches. You build a bunch of sketches that will end in a final piece, but you don't know that final piece until you get through those 35, 45 sketches, and they are just going all over the place. And I'm like, you know what? That's fine. We're on the journey. We'll just see where it takes me.